Part 4. But he had forgotten about his enemies. They were very jealous because the Grand Duke paid him a huge salary and gave him special favors. In public, they criticized some of his scientific ideas. In private, they started to plot his downfall. Galileo found himself in more and more trouble as he tried to argue with his critics. Things went from bad to worse for Galileo. In 1614, a priest gave a sermon condemning him and his ideas about Earth circling the sun. Galileo's friends knew the situation was serious. They told him to keep quiet and lie low. Galileo was so worried that he became ill. Even so, he would not accept his friends' advice. He went to Rome, determined to argue his point of view. So the church authorities had to decide what to do about him. They declared that Earth must be the center of the universe. To believe Earth moved around the sun was a serious crime against the church. Galileo was summoned by a senior church official, Cardinal Bellarmine. He got a severe lecture and was told to go away and keep quiet or else. Disappointed, Galileo returned to Florence and worked on other things, at least for a while. 80 years later, Pope Paul V died. The new pope, Urban VIII, was an old friend of Galileo's. Galileo hoped the new pope would let him discuss Copernicus' theory again. He went to see the pope and was delighted when he got his permission to write the book. But there was one condition. It was not to say that Earth really does go around the sun. It must also say that the sun could be going around the Earth. Galileo realized that he had no choice, so he agreed. He wrote a brilliant book, but he did not take the Pope's warning seriously enough. His enemies saw their chance. They persuaded the Pope that Galileo was making fun of him. The Pope was furious and he ordered Galileo to Rome to be tried by a church court. It was a terrible shock. Galileo was 68 years old and unwell. He knew he could be tortured or put in prison if the trial went badly. Galileo pleaded that he was too ill to go to Rome, but the Pope was so angry he would not let him off. When Galileo felt better, the Grand Duke of Tuscany helped make his journey comfortable and arranged for him to be looked after in Rome. The trial did not go well. Galileo still could not understand why so many people were against him. He was frightened of prison or an even worse punishment. But there was a way to avoid this. Galileo agreed to read out the words that said he did not believe Earth goes around the sun. In his heart, he knew the words were untrue. Later, he went back to the court to hear his punishment. He had to wear a white robe to show he was sorry for offending the church. He knelt down and listened while he was sentenced to imprisonment. In the end, it was not so bad for Galileo. He did not have to go to a real prison. He was sent back to his own house just outside Florence. But he was under strict orders to stay there quietly. His books were banned and visitors had to get special permissions to see him. Nothing could stop Galileo from thinking about science, though. His imagination and curiosity in the world around him were as strong as ever. He was more than 70 years old, but he wrote a new and important book about how things move. A friend smuggled it out so it could be published in Holland. Galileo claimed he did not know how the book got out. Of course, that was not true. But he got away with it. Sadly, Galileo went blind. Even so, he kept thinking up new ideas. With the help of his son and friends, he worked to the very end. He died the month before his 78th birthday, leaving behind many important theories and discoveries that will help transform scientific thinking.